Zeke the Antique Freak here. We're working on a 1984 4-bolt main small block Chevy 350, and we're going to do a nice quick and simple setting of the valves here. The firing order for these particular engines 18436572. Now if we split up the firing order and put the last numbers underneath, you end up with running mates. The running mates are 1 and 6, so if 1 is firing, 6 will be a top dead center exhaust. And if 5 was firing, say, 8 would be a top dead center exhaust. So those are called running mates. So on this engine here, the cam and lifters are fine. We are reusing them. So make yourself a simple little board like this here that you can put the parts in and keep them in order. It's very imperative that the mating surfaces stay together, the lobes with the lifters particularly. This is a good product. There's many products like it. It's a Mollieslip, and this was used in the reinstallation to put on the cam lobes for the lifters. So I went through and this one's getting a double roller timing chain. I've just put some yellow here for my own ease of visibility. So here's the one timing mark on the camshaft gear. Here's the timing mark on the crankshaft gear. So the distributor and the cam turn at half engine speed, and that way, so in one turn of this here, all 8 cylinders will fire. And so what I've done, I've went through, I've set all the push rods so that they're just tight at their respective spots. Now the travel of the lifter, how much the plunger can go in, is 2 turns of the adjusting nut. So this is going to be set in 1 turn, and that will allow the adjustment of the hydraulic lifter to be about mid-stroke of its capabilities. So I should be able to put the valve covers on this engine and not worry about the valves again. You don't have to set them when they're running. If you do want to set when they're running, you just it's handy to have some little keepers that'll catch the oil and keep it in here. Otherwise the oil will be running down on the exhaust manifold while it's running. And then you can back this adjusting screw out until such time as you get a rattle, and then you would go in and tighten it until you have about 1 turn, which would put it in the middle of the stroke. You can go through the whole set like that here. So since I went through each cylinder and set this so that the play is just out of these rods when it's at top dead center compression, that now to get to the middle of the stroke, I'll check a couple. We'll go through the firing order, and then later on I'll just take each of these in turn and I'll run them all in 1 turn, and that'll fix it right up. I can put the covers on and that part's done. So I'm coming up on number 1, top dead center compression. So the how you tell which is number 1 is the number 1 cylinder is always the width of a connecting rod ahead of the other. So in this case here, we've got 1, 3, 5, and 7 on the Chevy engines, 2, 4, 6, and 8. So on number 1, I've got my finger over top of the spark plug hole. I'm going to bring this timing mark up to the top here, and I should be able to hear air coming past my finger. I'll know for certain I'm at number 1. So in this case here, now I want to check and double check my work. I see that the push rods are in, and they are not depressing the plunger in the lifter. There's just no play in there. And I'll come after later and I'll turn all of these at one time. I'll crank the whole works in, 1 turn down, and that'll be in the middle of the stroke. So that was number 1 cylinder. I'm satisfied with that. We'll move on to the next one in the firing order. Is cylinder number 8. So again, I'll put my finger over number 8 spark plug hole. We should be able to hear the air coming out. So in 1 rotation of this, all 4 cylinders will fire. So I'm going roughly 1/8 of a turn. as we're going across here. So now I'm going to check the plunger depth. So I don't have any rattle in the push rod, and it's not depressing the plunger. So that's good. So we can go to the next one. Cylinder number 4. So again, the exact setting of the position here is not as important with setting the valves as it is with timing. So again, I've got cylinder number 4. I've got no play on the push rods, and the plunger is at the top of its stroke. I can physically see that. So the next one in line is cylinder number 3. Anyway, that's all there is to it. Again, on cylinder number 3, I don't have any rattles in the push rods. The plungers are at the top. So all I have to do is I'll check all that, go through it again. I'll do the rest of the cylinders, and then I'm going to go around and I'm going to set the whole works. I'm going to tighten them exactly 1 turn, and that'll put it in the middle of the stroke for the lifters. And bye bye, away she goes.